Hi, this is Frank here with DiehardRC Addicts, and today's video is sponsored by HobbyKing. Welcome to part 1 of the HobbyKing SK450 Quadcopter. This little series of videos is going to be a bit different, as this is my first attempt at building a quadcopter and learning how to fly it. What we've got laid out on the table here is the SK450 Quadcopter and all the parts and pieces that I've chosen to hopefully put this thing together and get it in the air. So now let's go ahead and take a closer look at all the individual components, and I'll try and share my thoughts with you on why I chose them and why in particular I chose the SK450 for my first quadcopter. This is everything that's included in the SK450 Quadcopter Basic Frame Kit. The reasons I chose this quadcopter is because of the nylon and fiberglass construction. It should be extremely durable, especially for those less than perfect landings. I also like the fact that all the screws that come with the kit are all the same size. This should make assembly really quick and easy. But one of the most important reasons for choosing this one for me was the fact that orientation on quads can be a little difficult due to their symmetrical looks. So I like the fact that this one has a yellow ball that stays out in front of it. These are all the main components that I've chosen to finish up the quad. This includes HobbyKing's new version of the KK2 controller board, which has a built-in LCD screen and push buttons for easy setup. I also ordered a set of female-to-female connectors to help make the wiring a little easier. The ESCs chosen for this quad are Turnigy 25 amp brushless ESCs. To complete the power system, I went with these Turnigy 28mm diameter motors. These are rated at 950 kV. The motors will be turning 4 of these APC 10-inch props. 2 of them are normal and 2 of them are counter-rotating. These are just a few more items I ordered for various reasons. I got some nylon standoffs for mounting the control board. I also got a Velcro strap for the battery. And I found these 2 cool parts in the spare parts section of HobbyKing. There's a solder board for the ESCs and the battery, which should make the assembly a whole lot easier and cleaner. I also found that they had colored arms for the quadcopter to help with orientation, so I picked up a pair of the red ones. So I'll have 2 red and 2 white on the quadcopter. Alright, now it's time to move on to assembly. I got the quad partially assembled here, and so far it's been pretty easy. Using the one-page instructions, which has a nice exploded view of how everything goes together, it's pretty hard to screw this up because, like I said earlier, all the screws are all the same size. There are a couple other notes I'd like to make here. The solder board that I got bolts to the top of the arms right here, and it pretty much replaces this one that comes stock with the quadcopter, so we won't be using that one. Because we'll be soldering the ESCs to the board, we're going to have to cut and shorten all the wires, and also cut and shorten the wires that go to the motor as well. It'll take a little bit longer to do it this way, but it should be a nice clean setup when it's done. One other thing I need to mention here is that the motors I chose are slightly larger than the recommended ones, and they have a 4mm shaft on them. The C-clip on the bottom is slightly larger, so it rubs on the bottom of the mounting plate, so I'm going to have to make these holes slightly larger so that it won't rub. Alright, let's go ahead and get back to the assembly. I now have all 4 of the motors mounted onto the quadcopter, and I decided to mount all the ESCs to the bottom side, as it should give it a little more protection from the props this way. And I also noticed that the layout on the board was set up that way so that the positive was on this side and the negative is on that side. So I'm going to go ahead and solder these onto the board now, and I'll be right back. All the soldering is complete now, and I have the last board mounted to the quad for mounting the control board. The KK2 board is on the quadcopter, and I've got my receiver wired up to it. And on the right hand side we got the wires going to the ESCs, so I need to look at the instructions real quick and see how they're wired up. After downloading the instructions for the KK2 board on HobbyKing's website under the Files tab, I was able to find out the correct configuration for the wiring. I found this side over here are all the outputs, and there are 8 of them labeled from M1 to M8. And for an X quadcopter you want to start with the first one, and motor 1 is going to be this one here on the front on the left hand side, and then you go clockwise around to motor 2, 3, and 4, and they get plugged in sequence. So it's motor 1, 2, 3, and 4 all in a row right there. And just for a quick reference, all the plugs on the left hand side are to the receiver, and they go in the order of aileron, elevator, throttle, rudder, and auxiliary. The auxiliary plugs into one of your auxiliary channels on your radio that has a switch, and this is used to turn on and off the auto leveling in the control board. So I got everything all plugged in correctly, and the quad is now completely assembled. So that pretty much completes the build. So now I'd just like to encourage any experienced quadcopter pilots that have suggestions to please put them in the comments below the video. And I hope that this video helps out any of those that are out there that are just now getting into quads. Alright guys, we'll be doing part 2 of the SK450 here pretty soon, so stay tuned. And thanks for watching Die Hard RC Addicts.